That's interesting. No sound played on my end. So I was not prepared because I didn't hear the sound that normally comes with the door opening. Uh, anyway, hello, welcome. I'm... Again, I wasn't quite ready. Welcome to another episode of Umineko, where the intros are weird, but the story gets weirder. Let's see. This is one of those where I didn't think far ahead enough. And I need to come up with a recap, etc. on the fly, you know. And I was already caught unaware because I thought I had another minute. And yes, it does. That minute makes all the difference. That's when I do my best work, which is, getting ready for streams. I don't know. Anyway, let me just start the game real quick so that we can actually play. And then I can check my audio. Because there should be audio. And, well, there wasn't. Okay. Yeah. Audio on my end's good too. I can actually hear the game, so that's great. Hello, Cat. Welcome. Hope you're doing good. We are gonna skip that. Because I don't want to get, like, DMCA struck. It's happened before, sadly. Wonderful, thank you for letting me know. Let me just do this real quick so that the intro doesn't cut in and interrupt us rudely again. Alright. Welcome to the second episode of the 7th arc of this wonderful long story. It's gonna be a good one. I think I mentioned last time, but this arc in particular reveals a lot. It reveals a lot about the past games, it sets some things up for the upcoming game, I guess. Yeah, no, it does. But expect to see a lot. Just expect that you're gonna go, oh, so that's what that meant a lot. If you're caught unaware by any of the reveals, totally okay. I mean, it's a lot of this stuff is not super, like, clearly spelled out. That's on purpose, of course. But, if you don't catch on to every hint, if you don't figure out everything, I'm pretty sure that's normal. As long as you try, that's the main thing. Like, if you try to kind of, like, think about it, or at least if you take in the information that you get, if you're really, like, along for the ride, that's all you need. I'm not sure I'm making sense. In my head it makes sense. I'm not sure it translates when I put it into words. You're mentally prepared? Great. On that note, though, I also mentioned this last time, but we are gonna have to have the talk about the content warning because there are spoilers in there now, and that I will be adding another spoiler-ish next time. I want to wait with that until a certain moment has passed. Just because I don't want to take, like, a potential aha moment away from you. But there's a spoiler in there. But I think it's more important to have it in there and, give you a heads up for what's coming along. Than to be like, teehee, well, I couldn't warn you about this because spoilers. Like, fuck that. So that's the choice I made there. If you disagree with that, that's your problem, honestly, because this kind of stuff is important, I think. Just to make sure that, people know what they're getting into. Alright, so, with that in mind, we no longer have a content warning for Erica, because she is no longer, the internet has tainted this forever, but she's no longer among us. It's like, I hate saying those words now. But there is a content warning for character deaths, detailed descriptions of gore and body horror, child abuse, discussion and mentions of incest, and that is a new one, yes. It is specifically discussion and mentions of, because there's not a lot of detail there, to my knowledge. I have already checked like a couple of chapters ahead, if this is ever going to become like a more detailed thing. So far it hasn't. I don't have a whole lot of time to like prepare to see if everything, you know, all of these come up in an episode or not. But for this one, I'm going to keep track of it. So should it ever come up in a more like detailed way, I will let you know beforehand. Automod says you can't say fondling. Because it is a sex-based term. Thanks for that, Twitch. That's a great addition to your platform. Cool. Anyway, I hope that that's like enough to work with. If not, you know, y'all can find me in the Discord and just I can give you more information. I can even spoil it for you outright if you want. That goes for all of this stuff actually, and I should have mentioned that a very long time ago. But anyway, so far so good. Also present, discussion and mentions of suicide, and the usual misogyny. Because this story is pretty rife with that, as we've all noticed. Now with that in mind, last episode was a bit of a weird one, because we have one new character by the name of Will, who so far has not interacted with anyone else yet that we know of, that we're familiar with. Who is in a courtroom with some colleagues of Delanor, and kind of tore them to shreds about not taking into consideration the heart of a mystery, the why done it, as well as the who done it and the how done it. So, yeah, he saved some poor servant girl from being, most likely tortured into a confession for a crime she likely did not commit. So it seems like a decent guy at first glance, you know? Then we started the episode with a funeral for Beatrice. Now the coffin is empty and full of golden roses, I believe. That's been it. Or did I just... Yeah, no, we've seen that part. It's hard keeping track. It's so hard keeping track of what we've been through and what's coming up. But yeah, funeral for an empty coffin. And that's kind of where we left off. Because it was a short one, because we were wrapping up the previous arc first. And yeah. Excuse the chaotic recap, but that's kind of where we're at right now. I think I covered everything. Right. Yeah, here we are. And we are indeed going to the chapel. Because Kat, you already predicted it. Or remembered from last time, I'm assuming. But yeah, chapel. I'm just gonna drink some tea real quick. To, you know, soothe the vocal cords. I've had a very busy 2 days. With a lot of talking. But I'll do my best to keep going today. I think it'll be fine. Quietly, quietly, the rain fell down. The rain of sadness dripped down the outer walls of the chapel, quietly washing away the dust of the world of the living. The chapel doors were open, unlike in this picture. For a wedding, only those with invitations would be allowed in. However, for a funeral, the doors would be open for all those who remembered the deceased. So this must be a funeral. A figure holding an umbrella approached the chapel. It was Will. I already forget what kind of voice I gave Will. Oh no. I should have checked. I'll wing it, as always. He does a lot of talking. I should try to remember. Also, I believe this is the first time we see the entrance to the chapel from this angle. A reception desk had been set up in the entrance to the chapel. As the figure approached, Kanon, who had been sitting at this desk, stood up and welcomed him with a bow. This is the reception desk. We are collecting the names of all mourners. If you would sign in here. Will, what did you sound like? Sorry, but I'm not here to mourn. I'm here to meet with someone. Okay, so you sound like Battler's dad. Okay, sure. You came to a funeral to meet someone? A dubious expression rose to Kanon's face. Will pulled an envelope from his pocket and showed him the sender's name. My apologies. Please, enter. Thanks. Could I at least have one of those? Thank you very much. I'm sure she will be pleased. Kanon handed him one of the golden roses being handed out to all the mourners. Will took it, silently bowed his head, and entered the chapel. Inside the chapel, several people who appeared to be the family of the deceased were gathered together, and they all seemed to be recalling memories of the departed. Oh wow, it has been. We haven't seen you since episode 5. Holy. Arc 5, I should say. It immediately starts with crying too, so that's gonna be rough for me to act out. Kinzo, why are you this dramatic? God. I'm trying to remember what his voice sounds like, and also trying to be like, you know. Beatrice. It's not. It has been so long. I can't remember how I used to like do that. It was like Nanjo was here, and then Kinzo was here, or something. But he also needed to sound old. Why? Why? There we go. Father, you must compose yourself. Why don't you rest in the waiting room for a bit? I killed her. I did it. Absurd. How could that be, Rosa-sama? we're just gonna gloss over that. Father was really bawling. Yeah. Beatrice. I'm sure he didn't cry this much when Mother passed away. Hey, now's not the time to say things like that. Some sobbed, unable to conceal their tears, and some spoke softly of old memories. They were all remembering the departed in their own ways, it seemed. When Will approached the altar, several people turned around. Of course, none of them knew who Will was. Paying this no mind, Will walked in front of the casket on the altar, which seemed to be buried in golden roses. Inside the casket, there was no corpse. Instead, as though it lay there in place of a body, there was a single, thick book with an extravagant binding. The space all around it was filled with countless golden roses. There were words printed on the book's cover. To my beloved Beatrice, October 5th, 1986. Miss Beatrice. If it was Mrs., then forgive me. I've never met you. However, allow me to express my condolences. He took the rose he had received from the reception area and placed it in the casket. He had absolutely no connection with the woman called Beatrice. However, since he had come to visit a funeral, he had to follow this minimum display of respect for the dead. As part of this, Will prayed for the passage of the departed to the next world. I just remembered that I was going to change mods. And I forgot, because I've been so busy. Next week. Pardon me, but who might you be? I'm Ushiromiya Kraus. I'm acting in the stead of the chief mourner. This is my child, Leon. Voice. Pleased to meet you. I'm Ushiromiya Leon. Leon. Just who are you? It's written as that, but pronounced Leon. Sounds a bit strange for a Japanese name, doesn't it? Will stared at Leon's face, wearing a confused expression. He hadn't seemed to be particularly interested in Kraus, but apparently Leon had drawn some sort of reaction from him. Rather than interest, it was more as though he felt something was out of place. Kraus-sama. Madam says that it is about time. Ah, I see. Ladies and gentlemen, if we're too noisy in here, it may disturb the dead. I've been told that the waiting room has been readied. Shall we move over there? And Kraus called out to everyone. They began to move towards the chapel waiting room. My apologies. Leon, could you entertain our guest for now? I will guide the others to the waiting room. Yes, Father. It looked like a natural conversation, with no awkwardness for either father or child. Father and child, is it? Yes. But why do you ask? Ushiromiya Kraus's child is supposed to be Jessica. Jessica's my little sister. Do you need me to call for her? No, that won't be necessary. Apparently, some sort of game was already being played right off the bat. Scratching at his head with an irritated look on his face, Will glanced around. Pardon me, but what sort of relation did you have with the deceased? Oh my god, it's like detective. I can't pronounce it. None at all. It's a real pain. Then, why did you come to this funeral? Since Leon was a fairly mild person, Will's behavior was met with nothing more than a blank expression. A normal person would probably have put on a dubious look long before this. What sort of relationship did you have with a diseased? Ew. Words are hard, okay? Will scratched his head again, and yelled angrily at someone other than Leon. I'm here. Isn't it about time you showed your face? The members of the Ushiromiya family had already followed Krause's instructions and moved to the waiting room. By now, this cold, vast chapel, decorated with gold roses, was empty, except for Will and Leon. So, you've come. Inquisitor, wizard hunting right. The girl's voice came suddenly from behind the pair. Should have known. When Leon turned around in surprise, a girl had appeared out of nowhere and drifted down on top of the altar. She landed softly on the sacred funeral altar as though this was perfectly normal, crushing the golden roses under her shoes. Of course, Leon did not know this girl. Just why on earth were all of these people unrelated to the funeral, popping up one after another? I'm already retired. If you have a job you need doing, go ask the new right. No. You're the one I want to ask. I'm giving this case to you. Did you read the tale I sent you? Skimmed it. I don't know who you are, but please get down from there. That's a sacred altar. Snapping out of a daze, Leon told the girl to get down off the altar, but the girl ignored this completely. On top of that, Will kept on talking to the girl as though Leon wasn't even there. Leon, was it? Who is this person? You've already heard who. Ushiromiya, Leon. There's no case of a person with that name appearing in any of the previous games. Is this your piece? No. It's a true and proper piece of this game board. One of the appearing characters. You're the game master. That means it's your piece. I've just enclosed Beato's cat box in a larger cat box. Leon is one of the pieces who has a possibility of appearing inside it. Ah, I see. In other words, it's your piece. It's a piece I've placed, would be the correct way to say it. So you're saying this piece isn't your subordinate as Erika was? Erika? Who's that? Damn, okay. come, son? Don't try to understand. You'll just get a headache. Leon didn't have a clue what they were talking about. However, it seemed clear that, though neither of them were familiar, they both knew a lot about the Ushinomiya family. I don't know what you two are talking about. At any rate, you there, miss. Please get down off the altar. I ask this as the successor to the Ushinomiya family headship. Even Leon was finally forced to speak in a raised voice at this girl, who continued to chat while casually standing on the altar. However, the girl ignored this completely. On the other hand, Will did show a reaction. The successor to the headship is supposed to be Kraus. My father, Kraus, will be the acting head until I turn 20. When I turn 20, I am to succeed the headship. First I've heard of this. Can you prove it? It seemed that even Leon was starting to get ticked off by now. That calm expression seemed to twitch slightly. This is the successor's silver ring of the one-winged eagle. Is that proof enough for you? A silver ring? The gold ring of the head has appeared several times, but I've never heard anything about a silver ring for the successor. I don't remember Kraus or Jessica ever wearing one of those. I'm glad. It seems you've read it pretty well for skimming. When a witch hands you a story, you never know when something absurd will pop up. Especially when it's a great witch from the Senate. Who in the world are you two? Sorry, but I don't have a clue what you're talking about. If you finished offering flowers for the departed... Detective. Deceased. Why is it always those? If you finished offering flowers for the departed, please make your exit. It seems you two are not worthy of our family's hospitality. Leon finally ran out of patience. These were the strictest words that this gentle kid could unleash. However, Will and the girls seemed not to care at all. I didn't come here because I wanted to. We're wasting time, so let's move onwards. Right. Try and beat this game. As the game master, Berncastle, I invite you to join this game. I refuse. Why? I'm retired now. Reasoning and mysteries aren't my business anymore. How do you intend to spend the rest of your life? Is wizard hunting right going to give up witch hunting? Oh, there's fox hunting and clam hunting. I didn't come here to discuss the rest of my life with you. So, you came here to refuse? Know that your powers of deduction are truly a sight to behold. Then do as you will. Go wherever you please. That is, assuming you can leave the place. So, what are the terms in payment? I need some tea. Hold on. Oops. Okay. In truth, Will had already given up from the beginning. He knew that he was incapable of refusing an invitation from the great Lady Berncastle. Who killed Beatrice? That's my game.
In payment, I'll forgive you for your insolence and let you leave this chapel.
I heard that witches who have no love for boredom are very fond of insolent speech.
That's only for hags who've tired of life after 1,000 years. I'm still plenty young, so what I love to do to rude men like yourself is dream up horrible fates in which to trap you.
So, who's the enemy?
There is none. There's no one to stand in your way. We just want to sit back and watch you make your beautiful checkmate in this game. I've even found you an ally. That's what this Leon is for.
Huh? After hearing that name spoken out of the blue, Leon frowned once more. Apparently, they were moving things along without Leon's knowledge or understanding, which was truly irritating.
Leon is a member of the Ushiromiya family. Since no one in that family knows you, Leon should prove to be a useful ally. I fail to understand what you are talking about, but I can't help you with anything unless I know the details.
There, see? With help like this, it'll be a piece of cake.
Entertain me and my master, wizard hunting, right? Awu may be a polite theater goer, but I might throw popcorn at you if I get bored. Got that?
Will scratched at his head with a displeased look on his face. He wasn't at all interested in getting involved, but by now, he realized that he couldn't disobey Berncastle's orders. Then, he approached the casket and pointed at its rose-filled insides. You asked me to solve the case of Beatrice's murder, but... Van Dyne's 20 rules. Rule number 7. It is forbidden to have a crime without a corpse.
That's a devil's proof. Maybe it just isn't inside the casket. Unless you can prove that no corpse exists, this is mystery.
Rule number 1. It is forbidden to have a crime without all clues presented.
Don't worry. Everything is gathered here.
There was no change to Will's unsatisfied expression, but he seemed to have understood that everything was at least in order. From the moment he was summoned by an uninhibited, fickle, cruel great witch of the Senate, a mere inquisitor like him was bound to be treated as no more than an underling. He had never possessed a way to refuse her. So, you want me to find out who killed the owner of this empty casket? Fine, I accept. However, you'll let me do things my way.
As you like.
First off, I need to make you understand what's going on.
Yes, that would be a great relief.
What is... Leon's face was a goulash of displeased expressions, seeming nonplussed, angry, and confused all at the same time. A goulash. Okay. That sure is one way to put that. Over here. It'll be faster to see it for yourself.
Wonderful. Please, lead the way.
There is a smorgasbord of emotions. Will signaled with his chin for Leon to follow him and spun around. After snorting once in an unsatisfied manner, Leon followed Will while looking deeply skeptical of the latter's ability to explain any of this in a way that would make sense. Which I think is very fair. As she watched the pair leave the chapel, Berncastle sneered silently at them, with a cold smile on her face.
As the Miko of the great witch of theater going, drama, and spectating,
Oh my god, Bern.
feathering something Aurora, and the Witch of Miracles, I, Berncastle, announce the start of this game. The tale's title is Requiem of the Golden Witch. Spin a tale fitting for Beato's funeral. Oh, now, let's see just how you drag out the guts.
After watching the pair leave the chapel, Berncastle's form evaporated into the empty air, just as she had arrived. All that remained was her unpleasant cackling. Outside, it was still raining. When Conan saw the guest and the head successor approaching the reception desk, he bowed deeply.
Good work. You can take a break now, so would you mind leaving? It's Conan. Yes, as you wish.
Conan bowed deeply, then disappeared. You don't bother to remember the names of your servants?
Our family has many young servants coming in and out, and they are usually replaced quite frequently. Anyway, what's going on, and how are you going to explain it to me? Who are you, and what business do you have with this family? Of course, I'm not really in need of a satisfying explanation. I'd be just as happy for you to head on home.
There is no going home. Not for me. Not for anyone.
Could you please give that a rest? Stop speaking in confusing riddles like that all the time. Even I have limits to my patience. If you don't want me to see you off, should I call Genji or Goda?
Sorry, I just noticed something. Stop talking. Look at this.
Yes, I can see what it is. It's one of the memorial roses. Are you going to show me some kind of magic trick?
Will took one of the flower offerings, then showed it to Leon, as if to demonstrate that there were no mechanisms or tricks. Then, he slowly lifted it upwards. Watch.
Yes, I'm watching. Is a dove going to fly out of it? Or is it going to be flags and fireworks?
Huh? Will threw the rose. Anyone would have expected it to fly in an arc and land in some puddle amid the wind and rain. The betrayal of that expectation struck Leon dumb. Initially, the rose Will had thrown had certainly flown in an arc. It swished rapidly through the air. However, as soon as it was about to pass from the shade of the eaves into the rain, it stopped, right in midair, as though the air surrounding it had turned into syrup. That wasn't all. As it hung in midair, the rose's beautiful golden petals began to darken one after another, and it became a black husk like burnt charcoal. and even after this happened, it remains suspended there in the air. What sort of trick is this? Don't move. Leon moved closer to try and touch the remains of the rose, which still hung in the air. Will had roughly blocked the way with his arm. It was as though he was telling Leon that leaving this place meant certain death. This chapel has been cut off from the fragment. We're currently locked within a maelstrom of compressed time. What do you mean by that? Explaining is a pain, so I'll give you the short version. Basically, unless we play along with that witch's game, no one can leave this place. But what are you talking about? The funeral is already over. I'm sure some people will want to return to the mansion or the guest house. We can't be locked up in here. If you've got a problem, that witch is the one to hate. Being stuck in a place like this isn't any more pleasant for me. That girl's your friend, right? Make her stop all this weirdness. She's probably sitting in a spectator seat with a bucket of popcorn about now. Even if I call her, she won't come. What on earth is going on? That short sentence described all of Leon's feelings at that moment. However, Leon had seen the rose wither in an instant in the rainy darkness. Leon tried doing the same thing with another rose, but the effect was exactly the same. No one would want to use their own body to test this fearsome something that could make roses crumble instantly. There's only one way for us to be released from here. We have to play along with Berncastle's game. You mean the one about who killed Beatrice? That's what she's telling us to investigate. If you could tell me about it, it'd make things go more quickly. That fickle witch will be totally satisfied. You'll be able to get rid of the two of us, and I get to go home in time for my date with Diana. If I keep her waiting too long, she'll start tearing at the sofa again. Who killed Beatrice, you say? That's hardly something to go barging into a funeral and start asking the family about. Questioning the family of the deceased is one of the basics of the mystery genre. Just give up and accept it. I do know that Beatrice is the mistress of Kinzo, the family head. You really are a strange person. How do you know so much about this family? Are you sure you have no connections with us? I think Diana's his cat. If I recall. Will knew so much about the Ushiromiya family because Berncastle had shown him all of the fragments so far. To clarify, that's basically everything we've seen so far? Yeah, it's definitely a pet, Diana, not a person. Well, I mean, some people have hobbies, you know. They're weird ones, but if scratching up a sofa's your thing, why not? I'm just gonna finish my tea before it gets... Well, it's cold already, but I don't want it to get icy cold, you know. Exactly, maybe scratching up a sofa is like a lot of fun, who knows? Diana knows. strong, oh my god. Which normally would be fine, but this is like a herbal tea, and if you make that too strong, it like... Bleh. Very weird aftertaste. It's fine though. Yeah, I'm sure Diana will be able to tell us how to really scratch up a sofa. Alright. One more quick sec, hold on. What? Does it taste like eating a holly bush? I don't know, because I've never eaten one of those. And I'm pretty sure they're poisonous, so would not recommend that. I don't think I'm wrong. I was always warned to not eat them, so. Because you know, they have the bright red berries, so it looks like... It looks good, but it's bad for you. Oh, you have a whole tree? I don't know, maybe it depends on the kind, but I was told that like the Christmas style ones, that they're poisonous. Or at least, yeah, no, that's what I was told. Maybe that's something to Google for after and put in the fun facts or section. No, I already have a fun fact lined up for this episode. So if you're on YouTube right now, scroll down a little bit, hit the see more button or expand or whatever it's called nowadays. And then there's a little fun fact for you. Alright, back to work. Of course, he had no sort of connection with the Ushinomiya family himself. The very plane of his existence was on a different level. The very plane of his existence was on a different level. However, Beatrice died a long, long time ago. According to Genji, she passed away before the mansion was completed, but the reason for her death is unclear. To be honest, this is the first time I've heard that she was killed. Tell me about it. Is that true? I'm not sure that's true, dude. My name is Ushinomiya Leon. Willard. Call me Will. For the first time, Will introduced himself. The mutual introduction was finally completed, and Leon was finally able to talk with him on an even footing. However, Leon took a deep breath and looked up at the sky, wearing a vague smile. Will-san. Call me Will. I'll call you Leon. Will. To be honest, even I don't know much about this person called Beatrice. I see. I guess it's called a game for a reason. If only Leon could have told him everything, revealing the truth without any effort from Will. Apparently, things wouldn't be so easy after all. Everyone who enters the Ushinomiya family knows the name and image of Beatrice. Do they mean mansion instead of family? I got confused there. That's because of the massive portrait hanging in the entrance hall, isn't it? That portrait was first displayed in April of 1984. Really? How is it that you know so much? Well, It's about time I stopped finding that odd. I'm sure you'll just start speaking in riddles again. Leon was the successor to the head and lived with the main family. Kinzo frequently chose to speak with his successor. Because of this, Leon must have been used to chatting with people who were moody or hard to follow. Deciding once and for all that getting hung up on trivialities would be nothing but a waste of time, Leon was able to converse naturally with this unknown man called Will, as though the two of them had been friends for a long time. Everyone knows Beatrice, and yet no one knows her. Kinzo's the only one who's ever met her. The head seems to be particularly upset today. I'll find a good time to introduce you to him, so I ask that you adopt an appropriately reserved and polite attitude, Wilson. That makes things easy. I thought you'd resist a bit more than that. I'm used to speaking with the family head. I've learned to accept most unreasonable situations and just go with the flow. Leon is very chill. Berncastle had set up a barrier cutting the chapel off from the rest of the world. To destroy that, they would have to find out who killed Beatrice. For Leon, who had been made to go along with Kinzo on many an occasion, understanding this much was all that was necessary. The Ushinomiya family members were relaxing here and there around the waiting room. A light buffet-style meal had been set up, but it looked a bit stale and not particularly appetizing. Even so, those voracious kids seemed to find it intensely appealing. The cousins had set up camp around it, with Maria at the center. The adult siblings had also formed a group in a different corner. Perhaps because of Kinzo's absence, everyone seemed to be a little more relaxed. Leon, where did you go? And who is that? Mother, I was entertaining this guest of ours. Well, this is my mother, Natsuhi. No introductions needed. I just need to hear what she has to say. Did you say something? No, he said nothing. This is Wilson. It seems he knew the deceased. With a smile, Leon casually smoothed over Will's words. He wants to know more about Beatrice. Do you know anything about her, Mother? Leon, the deceased is a woman to whom the head once owed a great debt. Nothing more, nothing less. This funeral is a ceremony for the head to repay the debts he made to her while she was alive. That is what I have heard, and there's nothing more to it than that. Thanks, Mother. Will, that's all my mother knows. Natsuhi was very resistant to the scandalous rumors that Kinzo, a man she greatly respected, had once had a concubine called Beatrice. However, she also understood that the scandal was probably the truth. Picking up that Natsuhi was in a bad mood and didn't want to talk about this anymore, Leon brought an end to that conversation before Will could say something rude again. Will, this chapel is the property of our family. So, you're telling me to follow the family's rules? You'll speak in a manner appropriate for a guest of the family, and you'll conduct all of your conversations through me. I must ask that you follow those 2 rules. I'll work on that. The actions of this Burncastle witch have caused us all a great deal of inconvenience. Because of that, I am willing to help you. However, both of us stand on an even footing, so make sure you don't forget it. And I thought you were just some pampered rich kid. You've got guts. I must be prepared to shoulder the Ushinomiya family's future, after all. Blech. Talking is hard. Got it. Let's solve this crime together, Watson. I'm glad to have your cooperation. I wouldn't want to keep your dear cat Diana waiting. Don't you need to feed her soon? I gave her extra food today, so she should be good for a while. Oh no, I spoiled it. I'm surprised you realized Diana was a cat. I figured a woman who scratches the sofas while you keep her wait. Bleh. I'm gonna just start over on that sentence. I'm a little tired, so it's harder to pronounce words good. I figured a woman who scratches the sofas when you keep her waiting would be a bit too eccentric. So, who will you talk to first? Anyone. Everyone. Those ones over there are Krause's siblings, right? From right to left, there's Aunt Ava, Uncle Hideyoshi. Over there is Uncle Rudolph, Aunt Kirie. And over there is Ushinomiya Rosa. When she was a girl, she once got lost in the forest and bumped into a woman calling herself Beatrice in a hidden mansion. I know I shouldn't be surprised anymore, but you really do know everything, don't you? So, you know about that story too? I managed to overhear her saying that today. It looked as though it was bothering her, so I pretended not to hear. Real model student you are. Introduce me. I want to ask about it. You're asking this of the model student who pretended not to hear because it just might be a painful topic? Even this outrageous arrogance is nothing compared to Ginzo. After muttering this several times mentally, Leon shrugged and nodded at will. Oh, it's our great successor. And who is this? Oh, Aunt Ava. This is Wilson. He came to offer flowers for the departed. Who cares about that? Tell me everything you know about... He says he wants to know about the deceased connection to the Ushinomiya family. Leon spoke with a bright smile while pinching Will's butt. Will silently protested, as though saying, even for a gag, that hurts. But Leon just played dumb and smiled at Ava like a model student. Her connection to the Ushinomiya family, well, what is there to say? It's probably more accurate to say her connection to father. We can be honest here. She was Dad's mistress. If you call her that, Natsuhine-san Natsuhine-san will yell at you again. He's indebted to her, right? Yes, of course. Well, there you have it. I have no interest in anyone but Rosa. I do believe that you said you met with Beatrice, Aunt Rosa. This whole time, Rosa had been hanging her head. Leon's words made her shoulders quiver. She just suddenly came out with it today. It's a bit hard to believe. It's the truth. I killed Beatrice. Great. Our work here is finished. Don't get ahead of yourself. Rosa broke down crying and laid her head on the table. Kiriya and Hideyoshi tried to console her. But Okunjima is covered by a dense forest. We only know about one tiny portion of it. Just the mansion, the rose garden, and the little path that leads to the harbor. Since ages ago, there have been stories about how Dad built a hidden mansion somewhere in the vast forest that no one knew about, and that he had his mistress living there. Rosa-san probably came upon that hidden mansion by chance. But, Rosa, why would you say you killed Beatrice? If I hadn't taken her out, she never would have died. She was so innocent, like a chick. I took her out, so she just followed along obediently. She stayed right behind me, trusting me completely. And because I made her take such a dangerous path... Did you make her walk that way because you were hoping she'd slip and fall from the cliff? I never meant to do that. I just thought she'd like to see the ocean. No. It just looked like the path would be hard to walk, and I thought it would be easier going if we went down the cliff first. That's not what killing someone means. It was an accident. It's an accident she never would have had if I hadn't brought her with me, right? It's my fault. And then I abandoned her when she was covered in blood and ran home. It isn't your fault. Beatrice had never seen the ocean before. You showed it to her for the first time ever. She was probably so excited that she just happened to take a bad step. How can you... Beatrice is grateful to you for what you did. Of course she doesn't hate you for it. Really? Is that really true? She was the one who begged to see the world outside the fence, right? Though it was only for a short while, you made that dream of hers come true. If I were Beatrice, I would thank you for that short bit of time. If she knew that you'd been suffering all this time for it, she'd probably feel bad herself. Beatrice is grateful for what you did. You're the one who taught her that the sea is blue. Is that true? I guarantee it. Will made that statement openly and boldly. No one could tell how Rosa took those words. However, they had apparently been enough to remind her to take a handkerchief out of her pocket and wipe her eyes. Thank you. Even now, Beatrice is whispering those words to you. Thank you. Rosa wiped her eyes with the handkerchief one more time and hung her head. It no longer looked like a fit of sobbing, but more as though she was speaking with the Beatrice of that day within her heart. One last time. That was a lot of confidence you put behind a claim you can't back up. Back up? Is that really necessary to comfort a woman? I misjudged you a little. For how many years had this tormented Rosa? Now, for the first time, Rosa would probably be able to face that innocently smiling Beatrice who had seen the ocean for the first time in her life. She was the only one who could forgive Rosa. Now the two of them could finally speak together.
I don't know who you are, but thank you. I wonder if she forgives me.
You beat yourself up about it for nearly 20 years. That's far too long. She's telling you to knock it off.
That's right, Aunt Rosa. The more you grieve, the sadder Beatrice would be. You too. Thank you. I don't know if I will be forgiven, but I'll keep on speaking to my heart to see whether she'll forgive me or not. Thanks, you two. I'm sorry for showing you such an embarrassing side of me.
And I'm sorry to say this right after saying something so pretty, but I want you to talk to me. Tell me what happened back then.
Wilson. Thanks, but it's alright. I'll talk. Hiding this and keeping quiet about it for so long might have been my greatest sin.
Exactly when was it that you met Beatrice? Upon hearing this question, Rosa closed her eyes lightly, reaching back to a past she didn't want to remember.
It was about 20 years ago. 20 or wait, it might have been 19 or 18 years ago. I'm sorry. I've tried to force myself to forget it for so long that I've nearly forgotten that part completely.
It should have been 1967. Ronove had guaranteed that with the red truth in the third game.
That's right. It was probably about 1967. I can remember what happened as clearly as a picture. I'll never forget. If it's tough for you, don't feel like you have to tell us.
Yes, clear as a picture if you don't mind. Damn it, that hurts, Leon.
What does? I took it very hard when I found out that my tutor had told Mother about something I'd shared in confidence. I lost control of myself and ran deep into the forest.
This tale had also been told in a previous fragment. Back when Rosa was just a kid, she had gone deep into the forest, found a hidden mansion, and met with a mysterious woman who called herself Beatrice.
But that forest is so thick it's hard just to move around in it. I even surprised myself. To think that I made it so far into such a dense forest. I was tormented by twigs and sharp leaves over and over again. However, that wasn't enough to bother me on that day. After all, I wanted to disappear into the forest and vanish forever. If, by some chance, there really was a witch's mansion in the depths of the forest, I hoped that she might take me to the land of happiness, or else turn me into a frog and make me a resident of the forest.
So, you then reached the hidden mansion, Kuadorian, and met a woman who called herself Beatrice.
Yes, I did.
Was that Beatrice the same as the one in the portrait?
Yes. They were the same person. Beautiful blue eyes, golden hair, a black dress. It truly was the subject of that portrait. When Father first had it hung, I realized that the 20 years I had spent trying to forget must have seemed just as long for Father, if not even longer, and I was racked by even greater guilt. Stop there. Are we sure that this is the same Beatrice that Rosa-san met? Immediately, Kiria spoke the question that Will had been thinking of. It would be too rash to assume that the Beatrice Kinzo met was the same person as the one Rosa met. The time and generation were different for each.
Beatrice is supposed to be that lady of leisure who lent Dad all that gold shortly after the war, right? Using Beatrice's gold as a foundation, Father revived the Ushinomiya family and got super rich. Then, he bought Rokkenjima and moved over. Rosa-san's meeting must have been at least 10 years after that.
A woman with free control over 10 tons of gold could hardly be some little girl. And 10 more years passed after that before she met Rosa. Rosa, about how old did the Beatrice you met look? She looked older than I was at the time. But even so, it looked as though she might just be on the cusp of adulthood. Yes, exactly the sort of age of the Beatrice in the portrait.
Did she look middle-aged or past her prime?
If I had to call her an adult or a child, she was clearly closer to being a child. There's no way she was middle-aged.
And isn't that strange? We have the Beatrice you met, and the Beatrice who gave Father the gold, but their ages don't match. In other words, they're different people.
Different people who look very similar and have the same name.
It might have been her daughter. It makes sense for them to look alike if they were mother and child.
His mistress's daughter. It is possible. Perhaps Father had an illegitimate child with the Beatrice who gave him the gold.
So, the one Rosa bumped into was Beatrice too. Makes those ages work out nicely.
I see. In other words, there are two people called Beatrice. Kinzo secretly raised his mistress's child in a hidden mansion.
That would make logical sense. Everyone nodded, agreeing. However, Will's expression was slightly unsatisfied, and he scratched at his head.
So, it would seem that this funeral exists for the two Beatrices he couldn't hold a ceremony for because he kept them secret.
Rosa. I know you probably don't want to remember, but tell me about that accident. After Beatrice fell, was she still breathing?
No. Her eyes were open wide. She fell upside down, head first, and knocked her head against a sharp crag on the rocky beach. And she fell from such a height. Her skull had split and caved inwards. That beautiful golden hair was stained red with blood almost instantly.
Was it the sort of wound that showed at a glance that she was undoubtedly dead?
Yes. I saw the insides of her cracked head. It had caved in deep enough to fit your fist inside it. No one could be naive enough to see that and still hope she was alive. Will, do you really need to ask anything more?
That's enough for the time of the accident. What did you do afterwards?
I dashed away at full speed. I wasn't even thinking about calling for help. I wanted to escape from that place as fast as I could. Half crazed, sobbing and out of breath, I kept on running about at random. Eventually, I came across a familiar lion statue. Oh, the one in front of the chapel. No, the one behind it. Anyway, I made it back to the mansion. I couldn't tell anyone, and I didn't want to. I stayed quiet until nightfall. It was so horrible of me. If I had hurried and told someone, they might have brought her a first aid kit and she might have been saved.
How is a first aid kit going to help with a crushed cranium? You didn't kill her. Don't worry about that anymore.
Then, what did you do next? That night, I turned over in my bed so many times, I couldn't sleep. Late that night, I quietly called Genji-san on the phone and told him.
What did he say?
He told me to let him handle everything and to speak of this to no one. I spent the next several days terrified that father would call for me and scold me brutally. But he didn't. Genji-san kept on doing his job quietly, just like normal. Father stayed locked up in his study, not knowing any of it.
At the very least, none of us ever heard about it. Genji-san probably managed to clean everything up nicely.
After all, I expect they couldn't let knowledge of that child go public.
Even if she was an illegitimate child, she was his own flesh and blood. It must have been tough for father, not being able to hold a real funeral for her.
I guess that's why we're having this funeral.
And then?
That's all I knew.
And that's all I know too.
I'm not hiding anything else. I've told you everything. I swear it.
Will scratched at his head, letting his gaze wander. It had taken Rosa a lot of determination to make this confession, but it was nothing particularly special for Will. It had been little more than a review of information he already knew.
Thanks, Aunt Rosa. Is that enough for you, Will? Are you satisfied?
That's enough. It was a nice review. To Will, Rosa's memories gave only information that was already known. This was the first time he'd heard all that about her running back to the mansion after Beatrice fell to her death, but none of it was particularly surprising. Apparently, Rosa really didn't know any more than this. If he wanted to learn something beyond the fragments given to him by Berncastle, he would need to find new testimony. Leon, tell Kinzo that I want to talk to him. It looks like we won't get anywhere without asking the man himself.
Where are you going?
off to cool my head and organize my thoughts. Don't follow me.
Well, pardon me for asking. Please take your time. After giving an elegant bow, Leon made a face, tongue sticking out. Unless Will had eyes on the back of his head, he couldn't have seen this last bit. Will returned to the chapel by himself. The cold air and the monotonous sound of the rain were comforting. So, how's the game? And he had come here for a little peace and quiet. No sooner had he let out a sigh of relief than that voice rang out.
That's one for you to answer.
She's back.
It was as though she had been sitting there all along. Berncastle appeared on top of the altar once more. Apparently, she found this particular altar extremely comfortable.
Battler annoyed me over and over with his incompetence. You are very competent compared to him, so it's a lot easier to relax.
Unlike Ushiromiya Battler's games, I have nothing standing in my way. It's easy.
That sort of game has already ended. Tales can be enjoyed twice. First, you love them. Then, you tear out their guts.
Think I'm a butcher?
Well, do you think you know who killed Beatrice?
Rosa's confession is something I already know from a previous fragment. There was no brand new information. We're still at square one. Unless Ushiromiya Kinzo tells us what really happened, we won't get any further than this. Don't tell me that sweet-talking Kinzo into spilling the beans is all part and parcel for this game.
If it were, I'd die of boredom. Kinzo refuses to speak of the truth and is himself the king protected by this castle. His castle, even. But it wouldn't be any fun to have that stand in the way of your game.
I won't torture. It's not my style.
I know that. As the game master, I will grant you power. So that you can get the truth from Kinzo, of course.
Still wearing shoes, Berncastle stepped into the casket, picked up one of the flowers that had been set as offerings, and blew hard, as though scattering fluff from a dandelion. When she did, a single petal broke off and drifted down towards Will. No longer gold, but with the shine of a transparent crystal. The detective's authority?
What's that pathetic ability? No. This is your invitation to the auditorium.
The theater-going authority? Granting that is supposed to be forbidden without authorization from the Senate.
I'm granting it on my game board. Who's going to stop me?
Though the crystal flower petal danced in the wind, it couldn't fly away anywhere until Will accepted it. Will remembered how useless it was to argue with witches, and he snatched it up. He snatched it up. When he did, the petal flashed brightly for an instant, melted into Will's palm, and disappeared.
Entertain me if you can, and try and enjoy yourself. You must also be interested in seeing what the guts of Beatrice's game board look like, right?
Not really. After Will's rude answer, Burncastle vanished into thin air, leaving behind an obnoxious laugh. After clicking his tongue, Will turned around, visibly annoyed. When he did, it felt as though his gaze crossed that of a shadowy figure standing by the door in front of him that led outside. Who's there?
Ah, pardon me. I heard a voice, so I wondered who it was.
Ah, Shannon. So, you were running the reception desk this time?
Yes. I've been taking it in turns with Kanon-kun to run the reception desk.
And where is Kanon?
A short while ago, he was ordered by, Leon-sama to take a break, so he's resting now.
So, you don't know Leon either.
Huh? Of course,
Ushiromiya Leon is the successor to the head, and the only one permitted the silver ring. Why are you stumbling over that name when you've worked here for 10 years?
That's...
Don't worry. I don't recognize Leon either. Kraus is supposed to be the successor to the head. Jessica is supposed to be his only child. There hasn't been a single fragment with anyone named Leon in the Ushiromiya family. Upon hearing that Will didn't recognize Leon either, Shannon looked back up at him in surprise. Apparently, she was a bit relieved to find that she wasn't going crazy by herself. However, her expression quickly grew uncertain once more.
Where is this place? I think it's the Ushiromiya family chapel. However, something feels different about it. Also, I never knew that someone named Leon-sama existed. And yet, Madam, Kraus-sama, the Master, Milady, and all the relatives all talk as though it's perfectly natural. I just don't understand what's happening.
Leon is a piece placed by Burncastle. She also said that she'd switched to a larger cat box to place that piece. On top of that, it seems this world isn't a proper world, but one made out of several different fragments sewn together. It's as though this is a special stage set up specifically for this game. I'm sure she's nodding at my thoughts right now, laughing and chomping down popcorn. How long have you worked here in this world?
10 years.
I see. So it really is a special stage. After all, right when I entered the chapel, I spotted Kinzo. If Shannon has worked here for 10 years, then this is 1986, the stage of Beato's game. In that case, Kinzo shouldn't exist. However, he definitely was here a few minutes ago. Burncastle promised that all of the information needed for reasoning was gathered here. She must have crammed all manner of stuff in here to make that true. See, so it really is a special stage. You have served the Ushiromiya family for many years. So, just how much do you know about Beatrice?
I know the Master loved her deeply, but other than that...
Is that all?
And, they say that she's the master of the Rokonjiman's night.
That's right. The name of the ghost rumored to wander the mansion night after night is also Beatrice. That brings the number of Beatrices to 3. The first is the Beatrice from more than 30 years ago, who is said to have given Kinzo the gold. The second is the Beatrice from 20 years ago, who met Rosa. The third is the Beatrice of the ghost stories, who is rumored to be the master of the night on Rokonjima. Furuto Erika's reasoning was probably correct. It started out as the legend of the evil spirits on the Rokonjima. Later on, elements such as Kinzo's occult hobbies, the name and portrait of the mysterious woman Beatrice, and the epitaph got mixed in, and it all fused into the legend of the Golden Witch. And so the darkness of the night gained the personality of a witch. That's the third Beatrice. This is the veil the serial killer hides behind. Apparently, she didn't understand a word of Will's sudden monologue. Shannon tried to follow along, but she seemed to be having difficulty. Don't waste your time trying to understand. You'll just get a headache.
My apologies.
Kanon doesn't know Leon either, right?
Yes. Kanon-kun was the same as me.
Shannon and Kanon, huh? Give me 1 sec. Okay. Call Kanon over here. I want to talk to the pair of you about something. When Will said these words, Shannon's face went blank and her eyes went wide.
My apologies. We aren't allowed to leave the reception desk unmanned, so I can't leave to go get him.
Then find a replacement and have them take over the reception desk until you get back. You, me, and Kanon. We, the 3 people who don't know Leon, need to talk.
We've been told that one person is enough to run the reception desk.
But no one told you there was anything wrong with 2 people manning it, right?
We are low on helpers today, so we were told that the reception desk does not require two people manning it.
Who gave you that order? Kinzo? Kraus? Or was it Leon? I will ask about it.
It was the one who orders me. I cannot disobey orders.
Who is this person? I'll negotiate with them.
You cannot negotiate. It is the one who orders us.
Call Kanon over here. I hate theater going just as much as I hate torture. Slowly, Will pulled his right hand out of his pocket. Just moving some stuff around. There we go. When he slowly opened his fist, a small, bright glow emanated from it. The flower petal Burncastle had given him had become a glowing birthmark which sparkled. He held that hand out toward Shannon, and slowly approached her. Call Kanon. I want to check something with you two.
I cannot call him. Do you still wish for me to do so?
If you don't call him, I'm going to watch your play.
If you insist, I can call him especially.
There is some kind of incomprehensible tension between the two. Will stood there, his left hand still in his pocket, and his right palm glowing and stretched out towards her. Shannon just stood there, her hands still folded politely in front of her. Her posture beautiful. And yet, it felt oddly as though raindrops were sparkling and crackling in midair.
I will now call Kano-kun. Do you wish to proceed?
Will's expression had remained unchanged the whole time. Shannon's face was still kind and gentle. And yet, the tension was as icy as a frozen lake. Beginners in chess will sometimes move their king into check without noticing. One might mercilessly capture the king in such a situation, but high-level players are supposed to calmly warn beginners about their mistake. If you take one more step, you'll get captured. This was similar to that. I see. So, after all, I get it. That's enough. You guys can take it in turns to run the reception desk. Slowly, Will lowered his hand.
Thank you for understanding.
The glow slowly vanished from Will's palm. That completely incomprehensible tension melted away, like a sugar cube in water. However, nothing had changed since the beginning. Will's expression and Shannon's expression were the same as they always had been. Yeah, something's up with Shannon, maybe.
Oh, are you leaving?
Footsteps approached them. It was Leon. I'm just standing here, talking. I wanted to ask her something.
What could that be? Did you find what you were looking for?
Yeah.
I'm honored to have been of service. That's a shame. If you were looking for an umbrella, I could have gotten you one right away.
Did you convince Kinzo?
I told him that a rare guest wanted to greet him. He says he'll meet with you.
Did you tell him that I wanted to ask about Beatrice?
Isn't that your job?
Isn't that your job, I should say? And then I skipped a line on accident. With a slightly mischievous look, Leon turned away. Will scratched his head and shrugged, looking annoyed. Well, I guess I got a chance to try this out. Will opened his right hand and showed it to Leon. It was just a hand, without anything remotely remarkable about it. Leon's head tilted to the side in bafflement at this strange gesture.
Good work. Your name was... It's Shannon.
That's right, Shannon.
Please continue manning the reception desk. Make sure you keep warm. Thank you very much, Leon-sama. Shannon bowed deeply in response to Leon's kind words. There was not even a trace of tension in her manner. Let's go, Will. You don't want to miss your chance. The head's mood changes quicker than the autumn sky. Good luck.
Let's go. Wow, that's a whole, like, range of emotions there. There's a lot I want to say about the past scene, but I'm not gonna say a damn word. You thought Shannon was gonna murder Will? Oh. That would be so funny though, because then it's like... Arc 7, new character. 3 chapters in, he's dead. The detective is dead. Yeah, I said I wasn't gonna say anything. So I won't say anything.
I've brought Willard some.
Kinzo and Genji could be seen in the VIP room. Kinzo was sitting back in a chair, his eyes closed as though in a troubled sleep. My lord, the guest has come to see you.
My lord? He's not a lord.
I'm not sure that's correct. Kinzo slowly opened his eyes. Those eyes were red from crying. They regained their focus and slowly fell on Will. I am Ushiromiya Kinzo. Will. Oh wait, was that Leon? Oh, it's like... Dude, introduce yourself. I'm Willard. Allow me to express my condolences. So, you've come to visit Beatrice's funeral. Just who are you? I'm no one. I have no connections with anyone. Don't think too deeply about it. You'll just get a headache.
Ow. I ask that you choose your words a little more carefully.
What a strange guest. So, what business do you have with me? I want to ask about Beatrice. What? Is that a what or a what? Kinzo's gaze grew sharp. Leon felt a bit lightheaded and wondered why this guy had to be so direct. Why do you ask? I thought you were no one. Why do you want to know about Beatrice? What purpose could it serve? Because I am no one. I can listen to your tale without bias and record it. You will probably leave this world before too long. If you die without telling anything about Beatrice, your children will adorn her with their own fanciful tales and write them into history. You entertain me, boy. You think yourself a testament taker? But that is wholly unnecessary. Beatrice is mine alone. No matter what anyone says, no one can defile our story. What they say is of no consequence. No matter how Kraus and the others misconstrue it, it matters nothing to me. Willard-sama. The master does not like wills. He is not one to abandon anything while he still lives. Probably true. I thought it sounded a bit unlike him. The spirit to struggle onward to our dying breaths is what makes us human. The idea that I would give up before my time and leave behind a will is laughably absurd. Yes, that does sound a bit more like you. It's not your style to ask someone to write about the past just because you feel you might die soon.
We know how deeply you love Beatrice-sama. You are the model most worthy of respect that any of us know, and an example for us to follow in every aspect of our lives.
That's a bold statement right there, Leon.
Please, for the sake of us wandering souls, may we learn of how you loved her to the last, how your love guided her, how your love for her guided you through life, and the strength of your love for her, so that your story might guide us through our own lives?
You're pretty good at this.
It's your fault for being so tactless.
Boy, what do you know of Beatrice? A truly ignorant person would not hold any interest at all. The mere fact that you know her name shows that you are neither ignorant nor unconnected. Good point. The Beatrice I know of is the woman you loved. The one you met before the mansion on Rokkanjima was even built. However, she probably departed from this world, leaving behind a daughter. That is the girl who was raised in Kuadorian. Oh. Willard-sama. There is no building known as Kuadorian on Rokkanjima.
That name, Kodorian. You mentioned it when we were talking with Aunt Rosa, too. What in the world does it mean?
You should have an idea by now. It's the name of the hidden mansion deep in the forest where his mistress's daughter lived. Interesting. So, you actually know the name of Kuadorian. Continue. You have sparked my interest.
Kinzo shrugged and grinned.
The one living in Kuadorian was probably Beatrice's daughter. However, it seems that you didn't think of her that way. Oh, then how did I think of her? When Ushiromiya Rosa went to Kuadorian, Beatrice told her a little about herself. In that conversation, she referred to you as Kinzo. It was the same when she spoke to you directly. Though she said she thought of you as a father, she didn't call you father. She either didn't call you that, or she wasn't allowed to call you that. That can only mean one thing. And what might that be? Reincarnation. You didn't think of your daughter as a child Beatrice left behind. You believed that the dead Beatrice had revived into a new body. Genji. Once, in the past, you spoke in front of Natsuhi and several other family members, stating that there had never been a child between Kinzo and Beatrice. I have no memory of saying this. Of course, this game's Genji probably wouldn't remember that. However, near the end of the first game, when the survivors all gathered in Kinzo's study, Genji was asked whether Kinzo and Beatrice ever had a child together, and he denied it, saying, "I have not heard of anything like that." I have not heard that. In a way, it was a perfect sort of answer for one of Kinzo's confidants. After all, in Kinzo's eyes, she wasn't a daughter, but Beatrice reborn.
what you're talking about, but I will not let you slander the family head.
This isn't slander. It's reasoning. However, I understand the heart. Beatrice was the woman you loved most. She remained that way even after death, for all eternity, and without fading in the slightest. However, given the child's blue eyes, beautiful blonde hair, and facial features which resembled Beatrice from a young age, you had gradually begun to think that she might actually be Beatrice reborn. If you had actually begun to think that, that wouldn't be surprising. My lord, shall I throw this insolent man out? Genji asked Kinzo. For a while, Kinzo hung his head in silence, as though remembering something from his own past. Your daughter grew to be beautiful and nearly identical to her mother. You must have been ecstatic. However, it's doubtful that you were fully satisfied by this. After all, though she was Beatrice reborn to you, she didn't feel that way herself. How can you know that? She couldn't shake the feeling that there was something out of place about her being called Beatrice. People never feel anything out of place about the name they were given at the time of their birth. However, she did have that feeling. That must mean that she was aware that the name Beatrice was not hers. In Kuadorian, she asked both Kinzo and Rosa about who she was. Who am I? Everyone calls me Beatrice. And that does certainly seem to be the name of a great witch, as you say. But that is not me. I cannot use any magic. I simply have the soul of that witch sealed inside my body. Her memory would have returned. She was, without a doubt, Beatrice reborn. Her memory was coming back bit by bit. My magical rituals were helping her regain her memories, one little bit at a time. Grandfather. There's no need to be surprised. If you line up the information in all the games so far, this is the answer it leads you to. The Beatrice on the higher plane talked about this in metaphor, saying that Kinzo refused to let the witch's soul escape even after death, and instead caught it and locked it up in a body of flesh. She also said that her power and memory had been sealed. If you match that interpretation of hers to this theory, it all makes sense. Willard-sama. Thanks to a powerful magical ritual, the master regained a reborn child of the late Beatrice-sama. That cannot be denied. I won't contradict the stork, and I don't intend to doubt the depths of Kinzo's love for this woman called Beatrice. It's no one's business how a person chooses to show their affection towards their only living reminder of the departed.
Are you sure though, Will? Are you sure about that though, Will?
She grew to look more and more like Beatrice, and Kinzo's love gave rise to a new, special emotion. I find that a very human reaction. Sorry. You think you can understand my love? I'm not qualified to understand it. However, I'm also not qualified to deny it. Oh, Beatrice, please, forgive me. Kinzo sobbed quietly for a while, wiping away his tears. Because of love, He believed she was Beatrice reborn, and raised her that way. However, somewhere in his heart, he might have felt pangs of conscience, telling him that he might be forcing his emotions on someone who wasn't really Beatrice. Then, the Beatrice of Kurodorian had an unexpected guest, Rosa. Unable to believe that she was the Beatrice that Kinzo desired, and suffering from her inability to understand who she was, she expressed a desire to escape to the outside world. Then, she fell from the cliff and died. Genji handled that death, which couldn't become public knowledge, very quietly. Funerals aren't for the dead. They exist so that those who are alive can sever their ties with the dead. You could never do that. That's why it festered within you. Beatrice. Grandfather. You lost your mistresses. No. You lost Beatrice twice. Unable to let that sorrow show on the outside, you kept it locked up in your heart, and it eventually festered and turned to madness. That's what spurred on your abnormally strong interest in the occult in your later years. Oh, Beatrice, Beatrice. Why? Why did you leave me twice? Your smile. That beautiful hair. Those eyes. Why did you die in my arms not once, but twice? Is that how much you... Oh. Alright, cry some more, Kinzo. I'm sorry. I'm sure you're a very sad old man, but I don't feel all that bad for you, my guy. For those of you who haven't caught on yet, you will. By now, Kinzo wasn't even trying to suppress his sobs. Sometimes he scratched at his head in anguish. Other times, he faced the heavens like an opera singer. Kinzo yelled over and over again, repeating Beatrice's name. At that moment, there was a quiet sound of a door closing. When they turned around, she was already there. Kumasawa had appeared. If they already know that much, perhaps we can tell them the rest. Though, if they know that much, I don't believe there is anything more to tell. No, we should tell them. As a woman, I've always thought that the heart of Kurodorian's Beatrice is a story that should be told. And now, someone has appeared who is worthy to hear it. I believe that now is the time to tell all, without holding back. Kumasawa-san, do you know something? About Beatrice? Of course she does. In the fourth game, we have testimony from the ferryboat captain saying that Kumasawa went in and out of Kurodorian. I'd be willing to bet that Kumasawa had different work shifts at the mansion in Kurodorian. There was a young girl to be taken care of. Kumasawa, with her long experience in taking care of children, must have been of immense value. That is correct. You might even call me her wet nurse. No way. I can't believe it. So, everything Lil-san is saying is the truth. Yes, it is a fact. There was a secret mansion constructed on the opposite side of the island for Beatrice-sama. The existence of Kuwadorian is the truth. I don't know when Kinzo married his official wife, but back when Kinzo already had an enormous store of wealth and had bought Rokenjima whole, he built 2 mansions and set up 2 separate lives. Kinzo's children had also been aware of Kinzo's clandestine eccentricities at the time. Jesus, what a sentence. It probably hadn't been easy to set up 2 lives. Moreover, Kinzo's wife had been suspicious and had sniffed around all the time. The master stayed in Kuwadorian as much as time allowed. He would sometimes pretend to go on a business trip and stay there for several days, treasuring the time he spent with Beatrice-sama. It was not simply a father-daughter relationship. You could sometimes catch a glimpse of his great love for the late Beatrice-sama, and it was a heartwarming thing. The way you say it makes it sound like he sometimes treated her as a substitute for Beatrice. Oh, if it sounded that way, my apologies. Beatrice-sama probably accepted her father's love. However, I will not deny that she was sometimes forced to bear a love she didn't understand. Kumasawa's tone made it sound as though she was scolding Kinzo. As a mother who had raised many kids, Kumasawa had probably spotted that Kinzo's love was often of a mistaken sort. However, the more the girl grew to look like her mother, the more distorted and twisted Kinzo's heart became. Because of his deep love, it grew very, very twisted. You are right to scold me, my friend. I understand. My love is eternal and undying. However, there were times when I directed it at the wrong person, and I must acknowledge that. Grandmother? Wait, you don't mean... Leon-sama, all humans in this world are tied to each other. Even if they do not notice, there is always some sort of tie. Those ties wrap themselves around people and bring them together. No way. Grandfather. Just as Kinzo had done, Leon also wiped away tears and stared down at the floor. Apparently, the truth had been too much of a shock for the young successor to handle. My lord, perhaps the time has come to speak of it. I see. So, that time has come, my friend. Unless you tell us, none of the truth will become clear. My lord, I believe they may have the qualifications and the right to know. I know. Perhaps on this day of my fickle funeral, Beatrice in heaven has given me a chance to atone. Forgive me for not telling you this before now. After taking a deep breath, Kinzo finally lowered the hands that had been covering his face and looked at Will and Leon with those red eyes. Grandfather. You listen too, Leon. Guest. Willard, was it? Yeah. I thank you for giving me a chance to speak of the truth while I am still able. You must surely be a messenger from heaven, sent by Beatrice. You have my gratitude. Beatrice isn't the one you have to thank. It was some witch. Oh, I guess they're both witches. I do not care who it was. I have been given a chance. That is enough. Thank you, Willard. Kinzo slowly stood up and held out his right hand. He was offering to shake hands. It must have been Kinzo's way of expressing his gratitude. Will responded. Then, the two hands gripped each other tightly in silence. When they did, a bright light poured out from the gap between the two hands. Will felt as though something the size of a grain burned itself into his palm. It was that power that Burncastle had given him. The light grew brighter and brighter. However, it seemed that Kinzo and the others could not see it. Now, I will speak. I met Beatrice Castiglione, just before the end of the war. She came from across the sea. Guess what time it is? It's cliffhanger time. Yeah, that sounds like a very Italian last name, doesn't it? It's Kiryu lookalike appreciation time. Oh my god. There's so much I could say about that. Oh. That's interesting. Hey, okay. God, there's, this is another one of those episodes where I have a hard time, like, not accidentally spoiling a ton of stuff. But yeah, no, cliffhanger time. Next week, we're going to delve into how Kinzo met the original, the first Beatrice, as you might have gathered from where that conversation was going so far. And then we're gonna find that out, and then maybe also figure out how all of that led to current day. Or I should say, the 80s, because, you know, that's when this story happens. But yes, next week. Not today. But a good stopping point, I feel like. So, next time. Yeah, this is gonna be... this is a lot to take in, I'm sure. This is kind of the pace to a degree. It does slow down at points, of course, but this is the pacing of Arc 7. It's reveal. There are things that do not get spelled out directly, thankfully. To, you know, just kind of to make you think a little more, give you a little more hints. Some things do actually get spelled out. But yeah, big time reveals in this one. So, hurry along your theory crafting, I guess. or, you know, take a break from watching these if you want to figure things out for yourself. Let me think. Yeah, I don't know, there's not a lot to say about this particular episode, just because it's all, like, out there. Normally I can kind of be like, oh gee, I wonder what it means. What does it all mean? And now it's like, wow, this happened, that happened, and now I'm gonna tell you how I met this person. Like, it's a little more straightforward. Yeah. I will say, I miss Battler already. Not that he isn't in this episode at all, because obviously he was in the beginning also. But, I don't know, I just miss him. Because he's great, and I love him a lot. Okay. Let's think. Outro. Yeah, that's gonna be it for me for today. Next week, we're gonna have more Umineko. It's gonna be exciting. Cause... oh my god, next week is gonna be big, I just realized. So yeah. If you can show up for that one, definitely keep watching if you're watching the VODs, and that one's already up. It's gonna be a good time. And... yeah. I'm tired. I'm also gonna be back on Monday with more Mythic Ocean, which is also a fun, cute little game. And yeah. Thank you for watching, as always. I hope you're enjoying the series still, and that you're, you know, curious and along for the ride to what's gonna be basically a bunch of big reveals. And I hope your theories don't get dashed too hard if they turn out to be wrong. That's part of the fun, right? Alright, Kat, I appreciate that. Yeah. Well, more next week. Until then, I hope you have a good day, a good night, a good week, and I'll see you next time. I appreciate you watching so much. Thank you again, and see you then. Bye bye.